Hey everybody, Dave Finale here, and this is Real Estate Talk TGIF, and I believe this is episode 83. We've gone 82 weeks in a row, have not missed a week. We had an extra episode. Again, Real Estate Talk TGIF, and we all know what TGIF stands for, right? Jimmy, do you have any idea what TGIF stands for?
Thank goodness it's finale.
Yes, thank God it's finale. Look at that. How great is that? Hey, you're the first one to get that right out of 83. So very cool. So here we are. We're here with the great Jimmy Rex. I mean, if you don't know about Jimmy, I mean, he's been around a while. He's a motivational guy. He's a great realtor. Calls himself one of the things, a social realtor, which is really cool. Jimmy, thanks so much for being on our broadcast today.
Yeah, you bet, man. It's fun to be on.
Awesome. So what I want to do is I want to start really quickly. I just hear about your story, where you were like years ago before real estate and how you got to where you are today. You don't have to go through all details, but people like to know where you started from.
Yeah, so I mean, I've been in real estate for 15 years now. This month, I signed up for my license 15 years ago this month in January. So before that, I was 21 years old. I was selling steak and chicken door to door. And it was kind of fun. I mean, I set up this entire system. I was the guy, you've seen the guy with a big freezer in the back of your truck. And you're going door to door. And honestly, we killed it. We would make $600 to $1,000 profit per day. So we had, we would just go out all day, hawk meat. And what happened is I partnered with a guy and we set up our own business around it. We franchised a model of it and all this different stuff. I mean, it was going really well. And, but in the meantime, I had kind of wanted to get to know more about real estate. My buddy had listened to some Robert Kiyosaki CDs in his car and he gave them to me and it kind of sparked my curiosity. So I went and got my real estate license. And what happened with that meat company is we built it up really big, but I didn't know much about business. I didn't know. My partner was this guy from the Netherlands and I love him, but he had a drug issue. And I didn't know this either. I was a pretty naive 21-year-old. And next thing I knew, we franchised it out to this guy in a neighboring city, like one of our offices. And the guy paid $35,000 cash. And my partner disappeared for 2 weeks. Went on a complete drug binge, took all $35,000 and however he used it. And it was just this eye-opening moment where all of a sudden I said, I can't do this. I need to go into real estate. I need to get back into real estate. And when he finally came back, he was so messed up and all of our money was gone and he was crying. And I just said, do me a favor. I never want to see you again. Like, I can't handle this. Go away. And I got saddled with $120,000 of debt. And so it was interesting because when I got into real estate, my first 6 months, I only sold like 3 houses. And about the time this was all going on, I went to a Mike Ferry seminar. And at the seminar, they were teaching, all these different things. And they'd give us this homework to go home and do it every night. And I'd go do it and I'd get leads. I was getting deals. And so the third day of seminar, and I remember it was like $1,000 a month for the coaching, 12-month commitment. And I just remember like thinking like I had no money. I was like, had all this mountain of debt. And I remember just thinking, I can't afford not to do this. And so I went up and I told him, I said, hey, if you'll wait a couple of weeks, I have a house still closing. You can, run my card, but I want to do this. And they said, okay. And long story short, the second I signed up for coaching, what was interesting when I was at that seminar, people would wear a badge if they were in coaching already. And so I went up to a couple of these people. I remember it was at a Jamba Juice at the Marriott Hotel, downtown Salt Lake City. And I said, hey, you guys are in coaching. Does it work? And they're like, yeah, it works if you do it, but there's a lot, nobody's really does it the whole way. And I'm like, well, if it works, why don't you do it the whole way? And they're like, well, it's just a lot of work. And I remember thinking like, this is stupid. If I'm going to do this, I'm going to go all the way. And I did. And so when I signed up, I did it 100% how Mike was teaching at the time. And I became this for sell by owner monster. I would get up every day from 7 to 8. I would role play and practice my scripts. From 8 to 11, I was on the phones. And then I was doing lead follow-up and appointments all day. And I did that for the next 5 years. And that next 6 months, my first 6 months, I sold like 3 homes. My next 6 months with, learning what to do, how to say it, exactly how this all worked, I think I ended the year with 60 sales. And the next year, I was one of the 2 finalists for Salesperson of the Year on the Salt Lake Board of Realtor. So, it was working. I was destroying it. This was 2006, 2007. So you can imagine when, everything collapsed. I had just got out of this mountain of debt from the meat company and I was finally back on my feet. But what it did is it forced me, having that debt I didn't have any choice. I was working 70, 80 hours. I had to get rid of this debt. I mean, I thought my life was going to be over. And so it kind of, even though it was like the worst thing ever, it ended up being the biggest blessing, because that's how I really catapulted my career into real estate.
Yeah. So you said there was homework at the event, at the seminar. So what kind of homework did they give you? What was it, 3-day seminars? Did they give you homework to do at night during the event?
Yeah, exactly. So they basically said, all right, they would teach us about for sale by owners, and then they'd say, all right, tonight go home and call 10 for sale by owners, or they teach us how to call our sphere of influence, which I didn't even know how to do that. Right. And they'd tell us, go home and call 10 people. Here's the script you're going to say. I mean, the brokerage I was with, the guy was doing mortgages, investing, flipping homes, real estate. I was just lost in it. So I didn't really have I wasn't with one of the major companies. If I'd have gotten some actual training, I probably wouldn't have been as naive or as far behind. But I literally went from like no coaching training to like Mike's all in, and here's everything you need to say and do coaching. And so for me, I think that's why my impact was so drastic. But yeah, I'd go home and do it, and I kept getting leads. I'm like, oh, my buddy wants to sell a house. My buddy wants to buy an investment property. And I kept getting these leads. And so I knew it was working.
Well, that's really interesting. You say that. A couple of really interesting things. Now, one of the things I tell you, and I just showed you this before we went live, is I have bought your book. I bought it when it came out. It's called The Next Wave of Influence in Real Estate. And it's about all about getting the ideas from millennials of what they do. And you ask them several questions. But I was reading the introduction the other day, and I noticed that your first bit of training, I'm sorry, but it was kind of typical in the industry, right? It was, okay, well, whatever. Basically, my training way back when was, there's the phone. If it rings, answer it, right? And yours was similar, right?
Yeah, I mean, it really was. I love my first broker, but he just never trained anybody. And so he, I went with a family friend, and I walked in the first day, and I just said, like, I was so excited to see, what do I do? And he looked at me like it was the first time anybody had ever asked the question. And he's like, start calling people. Who do I call? And he's like, what do I say? And I kind of figured it out a little bit, but it was very frustrating, because I remember when I called for sale by owners the first time, I knew that was like a thing. And so I found a list, and I started calling them, and it was so bad. I mean, I was literally calling them like, hey, do you need an appraiser? I can help you get one if you list your home with me. I mean, that was my script. I didn't know what to say. And so I just remember, like, and they were so rude. I remember that first experience for sale by owners, like saying the wrong thing. I was like, that is awful. I am never doing that again, no matter what. And but then once I had the right script and learned how it just flowed through, I actually fell in love with them. I remember in 2008, I ended up selling, I think, I ended up listing 187 for sale by owners in that 1 year. I got very good I went from taking 70 calls to get an appointment to, by the time I quit calling for sell by owners, I could get a call 1 out of every 12 usually that I would call. I'd get an appointment.
1 out of every 12. That's pretty cool. So, all right. So everybody's going to ask a lot of questions come out. Different agents listen to this. They'll ask the question. So where were you getting your information to call the FSBOs? Once
I got it, like
where'd you get the information to call it for sale by owners?
So at the seminar, they have a couple of companies that kind of they have partnerships with, and so RedX and Land Voice. There's a couple of ones.
Yeah, because everybody asks that question. This is, where do I find them? I mean, I always say that you have two choices. You can either go do the research yourself, or you can hire the company that's what they do, right?
Yeah. So that's Land Voice was like $90 a month. That was who I used.
So one of the points I always make is I talk with my coaching clients and stuff, is I talk about practice, right? And this was the first thing you said when you started doing the FSBOs, and you practiced from 7 to 8 in the morning. What it was entailed in that practice?
Well, yeah. And so, I mean, it's, Jordan Belfort talks about this a lot. We all know who that is, a Wolf of Wall Street. And I had a chance to be in a private little mastermind with him a couple of months ago. And he talks about this. He says, your tonality is everything. He's like, you have to prove in 4 seconds you're sharp as a tack and you're an expert in your field. Like, that's what people are trying to figure out. And it has nothing to do with the words you use. It's how you say it. And so when you truly can, but if you don't know what to say, then you're not going to know how to say it. And so what I did is I first memorized. I mean, those that have known me for a long time know this. I laminated all the scripts and I put them in my shower. And every morning when I was showering, I'd chant the scripts and I'd get them memorized. And I had that so down word for word. And then I'd get on the phone and I'd role play with agents all over the country that were also part of Mike's training. And we got very good. Once you know the words, you can actually, like, you break your words in the right way. Your tonality, your upswing, your downswing, all those things that truly do make you a kind of a ninja on the phones. And because you only have, again, 4 to 5 seconds to prove that you're an expert and you're sharp as a tack. And if you can't do that, you can only do that through tonality and how you come across through the phone. And most of the people, when I got good at that, most of the people were ready to list their home with me by the time I got to their house, because they had 30 calls of agents trying to list with them. They picked me for a reason. They already know they like you.
Right.
You just go in and close it.
So you laminated your stuff, put it in the shower, and you recited this stuff as you were taking a shower.
Oh, yeah, every morning.
Okay, so you're the second person. You're not the first person I heard do that, right? The other person is Haas Pratt. I don't know if you know who Haas is, but Haas Pratt did that too. And that was, I mean, I heard that. I said, holy shit, really? Okay, that sounds great, right? Okay, so you did this for, like you say, up to 5 years. Did you practice like all the time every 5 years?
No, so I was, for the first 6 months, it was every day. And then it was kind of a couple of days a week. And if I'm being honest, I mean, it got to the point where I was making so many calls and I would, I just didn't want to get on and practice anymore. And I'd still do it like once a week. I know agents to this day. One of my close friends, he's an agent in another city. I mean, he started doing it the same way as I did at the same time. And he still sells 150 homes a year, but he still role plays every morning. Like, it's crazy to me. I haven't role played in 10 years. But when I was starting it out, when I was learning it, it was pretty much every day for at least that first 6 months.
Well, that was the reason I asked the question, because I know there's people that still do it every day. And you know what? It is an individual thing, because if you're really good at it and you're doing it, you've got it locked down. The only thing that's going to happen is that you're going to vary it person to person as to what their objections are going to be. I want to ask you one other question, and this may be a little bit out of left field with that. Did you think it was important to, quote unquote, handle an objection, or to talk past it or around the objection?
Well, and that's kind of what, again, Mike Ferry and Jordan Belfort, who are two of the best sales trainers I've ever met, they talk about the same thing. It's the straight line path. So you have an objective of where you're trying to go, and you want to bring them back. You want to be in control of the conversation, and you do that by having a script and by having the questions ready. So no matter what the question was, you answer it, but then you answer it in a way to bring them back to where you're trying to guide them. And that, I think that was the key to that. Right.
Exactly. So moving forward, you've been in the business for a good amount of time, 15 years. And, you've been killing it and doing really, really well. And you wrote this book, you put this book together, which is really very cool. It's already the bestseller list. And you asked the same questions of millennial realtors that are crushing it. Talk to me about the inspiration for the book and what you got out of it personally and what others can get out of it.
Yeah, so I'm a big fan of, Tim Ferriss's, and he's one of my favorite authors. He's very curious, and he did his book, Tribe of Mentors, where he sent out a questionnaire to 100, 200 different people, the same questions. And I was reading through that book, and I just kind of had the idea, like, man, there needs to be something like this, but with real estate questions. And so I actually had the opportunity to have brunch with him last year at New Year's Day. His girlfriend's a close friend of mine, and I sat there and I talked to him, and I was telling him my ideas, and he kind of just was like, I got to really see his genius behind it. And he said, the thing is like, in your industry, so many people, I don't need to write a full manual on how to do this. He goes, but there's so much to learn from people that have already doing it. So I basically said, just interview the top people, get their information. They're all going to give some kind of little tidbit that's going to help people. So the book, as you read it, it's not like you sit down and you read a novel. That's why there's no audio version. But every day, Mike used to talk about this all the time too. He's like, when the market was hard, we would take mindset breaks, and we'd have like just positive things to read or to study or to listen to. And that's kind of what the book is like. If you need an idea, that every single one of these 100 agents gives some of their marketing strategies. They give kind of their daily routine, some of their mindset tricks, or some of their motivational quotes and things they like. And so it's the book to just kind of pick up if you need a little boost, or if you're really trying to kind of do a couple things different with your business. I mean, these are 100 agents that are all killing it, all in that millennial demographic. And so they're doing it with a lot of new school type of things.
So that, I mean, that's really cool because I know a lot of agents want to follow, agents that are doing well. And there's really a lot of good points in there about agents that are not succeeding, that don't know what to do. They don't know how to ask questions. And you've really done that. And that's what I loved about this book. I mean, it's just got so much value to it because you're getting, how people first got into the business and everything else. So, yeah. So now we're going to backtrack a little bit. So we talked about you being in the business, and then you worked with Mike Ferry, and then you burn out a little bit, and then you changed everything, or changed how you did your business. Tell me about that part of your life.
Yeah, so in 2008, like I said, I listed over 180 for sale by owners, and I only sold like 15 of them. I mean, I was number one agent in my office. I think total I did like 30 deals that year, but it was brutal. I mean, I had 170 people that hired me who I couldn't sell their house. If you were in the market at that time, you know how difficult it was. Everyone was upside down 20%. It was just all you did all day was try to get price reductions on listings and try to find money somehow. But and I got burned out, and I realized at the end of 2009, I'm like, I can't keep doing this like this. And so Bill Pipes was my coach. He's the front guy for the Tom Ferry organization at the time. Bill was, I think he was, he'd been with Mike, and I think that's how I met him. And then he was running Keller Williams' stuff. And anyway, so Bill and I sat down. I was like, dude, I think I'm going to get out of real estate. I'm just burned out. I don't enjoy this anymore. And he said, well, what would you want your life to look like? Like, we should, let's map what you want your life to look like, and then we'll figure out how to do real estate around it. And it was funny because I took all the deals I'd done from the past few years, and I was doing fine. I mean, I was number one agent in my office, over 100 agents, but I didn't have any money, and I didn't like it. And we mapped it all out, and I was shocked at how few of my deals were actually coming, from the for sale by owners and expired listings. I was still getting the majority of my deals from people I knew. So me and Bill designed this system where we focus on client parties, working through charities, going on vacations with big groups of people and winning them over as raving fans, social media, all the things that I do now and all the things I started doing then. So what I did is we mapped this whole thing out, and I started doing that instead. And I kind of got off the phones. I just was done calling for sale by owners. I couldn't do it anymore. You burn out. If you're doing that, I only know a few agents, and they just must be machines or whatever. But for me personally, I was burned out from that. And so I changed my whole strategy, and we really started to focus on just putting a lot of attention on people I knew, and then meeting a lot more people, networking. And so we went about so in 2010, I started doing that. And by 2013, I think I closed 180 homes or something like that. I was back. I was working with a lot of investors. I basically made a list of 15 people in my market. This is how I started it. Because at the time, no one had money, nobody and he's like, Bill, his question was, well, who do you know that has money? I'm like, nobody. He goes, well, who do you know that has money that you don't know, but you know they have money? And I made a list of 15 people in my marketplace. I'm like, I'd love to get to know these people. They're killing it in their jobs and life. And by the end of 2 years, I'd sold all but one of them a house, just by strategically creating relationships and friendships with these people, and then going about it in a much different way. And so that's how I kind of got back. And then that evolved as social media started coming, and I took a huge, put a lot of effort and time into understanding and truly getting social media. And so now, last year, in 2019, my team did 324 deals, and over 40% of those deals came through Instagram, through people connecting me through Instagram. So I use this new method where and the reason why I got into coaching and training and stuff is because I took 127 days last year on vacation. I also
how many days on vacation?
127.
Holy shit.
I went to 22 countries. I mean, I really created a system that works where you don't have to be in the trenches every day. I haven't gone on a listing appointment in over a year. I take them all over the phone. My buyers, I think 180 of those deals were investors. I never had to go see a home with them. We just send them the pro formas. I have other people running around finding those. And the buyers I work with, my team is amazing. I'd like to tell you that I'm this genius, but my team, I truly have collected just a group. There's only 4 of them on my team last year. We just added 2 new agents, but between the 4 of us, we did over 300 deals because they're like ninja focused. I mean, this guy, Tyler, on my team made over $1 million last year, and my admin is incredible. And my 2 buyers agents were amazing too. So I can pass off any client and they get a better experience. And it's really that system I put into place is what I try to teach other agents now, because I just had so many people want me to speak or want me to talk about it. They're always like, how do you do this? How do you? And I always say there's a lot of agents selling more homes than me. There's a lot of agents that are making more money than me, but I've never met an agent that has a better quality of life than me. I really don't. And so my whole system is, doing the things I want to do, but doing it in a way that it brings business back in through social media and other avenues.
So, I mean, you got so much great stuff. I mean, such great energy as well. But you said you did not go on a listing appointment. You did everything over the phone. Did you do that through video or just over the phone?
No. So, and what happened is in 2012, I wanted to kind of try something different. So I went down to Arizona State. I'm in Utah. So I went to Arizona State, got my master's in real estate development. And so what happened is I knew I wasn't going to be in Utah. So I had to set up my team to function without me physically being here. So I spent a year setting that up, teaching them, getting my buyer's agents all ready. But then on top of that, I started learning. I'm like, well, I'm going to try to just start taking listings over the phone. I talked to an agent once at a mastermind, and he said he didn't take listings in person. He took them over the phone. And I'm like, you can't do that. And he's like, no, you can. Like, no one tries. And I'm like, well, maybe I'll try it. And so I just started doing it. Like, people would call me about listing their home. I mean, you're not going to do that with for sale by owners, but with warm leads, absolutely, referrals and SOI. And so I just kept getting all these people that would call me to list their home, and I tried it over the phone, and it would work. I was in Arizona. I couldn't come, so I just had to do it over the phone.
Right.
I just tell them, like, tell me about your house. What kind of conditions it in? I said, like, no BS, from a 1 to a 10. What condition is it? All right, great. What's the specs? I run a CMA. I send it. I said, hey, based on what I'm seeing, this is where we need to list the home. If that sounds good, I'll send over the paperwork. Let's get this thing going. I'll have my photo guy there to buy them tomorrow. And I just start taking all of their phone, and it works. They don't care. People are like, we are in an industry where everyone just does it that way, so we assume it has to be done that way. Right. But like, think about your doctor. I mean, no offense, but a good real estate agent makes as much or more than a doctor. Like, call your doctor and be like, yeah, come over tonight at 6 and check me out. He's not coming over. No. You're the doctor, or you can do it over the phone. So it's just getting your head wrapped around the idea. I just encourage agents, if you're hearing this and you're like, yeah, right, try it. It works.
That's amazing. That's great. So, okay. So another point you may want to hit you up with is Instagram, right? So you did 40% of your 324 deals because of Instagram. Now, is that using everything on Instagram, like stories and posts and TV and all that stuff?
So, yeah, I mean, I do a huge training on this. When I get asked to speak a lot on this, and I take an hour when I go through it. So I'll try to give you a quick answer here, but essentially there's a couple things I use Instagram for. Number one is it's the best tool you have to build your network. You can collaborate, you can meet people. When I meet people, I don't even own business cards. I'm adding them on my Instagram. And what happens is people want to do business with people they like, know, and trust. And through Instagram, as soon as I meet somebody, they'll start following me. They'll start seeing who I am as a person. So I use my posts as a way to be attractive and create value. Those are the two things that I try to emphasize. Is you've got to be attractive and you've got to create value. So I only post things that people like to see. They like to see kind of what I'm doing, who I'm with. I like to post, videos about my podcast and things like that. And by doing it the right way, I've grown my audience. And then through my stories is where I do all the selling. So I'll talk about listings. I'll talk about real estate. What you're doing is you have your own. If your Instagram stories is the exact audience you want to be watching you, like, you're better off having an Instagram story than you would be, I always say commercials on the Super Bowl, because it's the exact people that are already following you, that your mostly potential clients you would ever have probably are following you on Instagram. So use that stories to show people you're the expert and you're the most networked guy in the community. You're doing all these different things, and you create kind of an atmosphere. So what the difference is, when I called for sale by owners, I was trying to pull everybody to me. And instead, through Instagram and social media, I can attract everybody through me. So I have people that will call me up to buy a house or sell a house. I have hundreds of messages in my DMs in my Instagram, and they feel like they know me. They'll be talking about me like we've been long friends, and I have no clue who they are. They just happen to follow me on Instagram. And because they're seeing me every day, they're seeing my stuff, they feel connected to me. They already have that trust factor, and they can trust that I know what I'm doing because they see I post things about my successes in real estate. So they go, well, yeah, of course, this is our guy. And so that's why Instagram is such a powerful tool.
So I want to ask you about your Instagram profile and stuff. So I have it open now on my phone, right? I'm looking at it. Mr. Jimmy Rex, if anybody wants to look at it, right? So you said that in the beginning you started following, you would connect with people. Does that mean you followed people?
Yeah, I follow them, and then what I do is I'll follow somebody, and if I want to get them to follow me back, I'll just put a story together. I'll tag them in the story, and then they see that, oh yeah, that's the guy I just met. And they add you back, and I'll send them a quick message. Like this morning, I was up at a party last night in Sundance here in Utah, and there was a dude there that I added him on Instagram, and I sent him a text this morning and just said, "What up, dude?" It was through Instagram. I just said, "Hey man, it was so fun last night. Good to meet you." And he already hit me back, and he's like, "Man, it was so fun to run into you and get to know you." And so we now have a connection like that. Before Instagram, like how would have you done that? I would have either had to get his phone number, which would have been weird. It was too early in meeting him. But through Instagram, it's just natural. It's normal. And so now I have a connection. We'll start working. He'll start seeing, oh, this dude's a legit real estate agent. So if he has any real estate needs, he'll start sending them my way. So that's kind of the formula for the networking through Instagram.
That's really cool. That's really cool. So I want to get back. We talked about, you went with Bill Pipes, and you based your business on how you wanted to have your business, not what others told you it should be. And when we're talking about, I don't know if you hit it all before, is networking, social media, client parties, you said, and charities. And one of the things you said was that it was you went on vacations with people or networking events. Tell me about that.
Yeah, so it's one of my most powerful tools. So there's just a different bond that gets formed when you go out of town with somebody. And so I strategically go on a ton of trips with large groups of people. I do this because when you get there, you can create raving, most people have maybe 20 raving fans in their whole base. But if you go out of town, like last night, again, there was 15 of us up at this cabin. We all slept up there. And I probably had 6 or 7 very intimate conversations with guys that I'm friends with, like one-on-one conversations. You just would never have that time to do that over lunch or in any other setting. And so half the people were married, the guys half weren't. We were up there for my buddy's bachelor party. But at the end of the day, 15 of us spend one night together. We had serious bonds formed. And so like I strategically go do this stuff all the time. I'll put together little cabin trips or boating trips. One thing I did is I bought a houseboat about 7-8 years ago, and I can get 30, 40 people at a time on my houseboat. So 3 or 4 times a summer, it's about 5-6 hours away. We'll get a group of 30 or 40 of us, and we'll go down on the houseboat. Sometimes it's couples trips. Sometimes it's my family. Sometimes these singles trips. But what we'll do is we go down there and spend 3 or 4 days together, and there's no phone service. So it's like you truly connect. And, I don't have to talk about real estate. We just become friends. And then by the time we get back, we're friends. If somebody wants to buy real estate, again, they're following me on Instagram. I'm following them. We're friends. And you just do a ton of deals. So I did a deal this year in Utah. It was the most expensive home ever sold in Utah. I sold this house. I was the representative buyer for $32.5 million. And to give you an idea, in Utah, that was twice anything else that had ever sold on the MLS. Wow. And what happened was there's a guy that I met 10 years ago on a boating trip, that same place where I take my houseboat. And we became friends, but we were kind of just friends. And then 5 years later, he moved up to Salt Lake. And we hung out a few times. He sold a company. He wanted to go celebrate. So he invited 30 of us. He paid for 30 of us to go to Hawaii for a week. I remember when I went out of town, I remember actually having guilt about it. Like, oh, I shouldn't be going to Hawaii and messing around. I should be like working. But I knew instinctively, I'm like, no, this is my method. I have to trust the process. And me and him became best friends on that trip. Well, he just started a company a few years ago. It's now a $3 billion company. Wow. And he just bought this $32.5 million property, basically bought a mountain range in Utah with a house on it. And he did all the work. I put 20 minutes into it, and he put my name on it. He goes, "Of course you're my guy. You've been there with me from the beginning. You've always, believed in me." And so I got that commission from literally a trip I went on. We wouldn't have had the same connection if I didn't go to Hawaii with that group. So I'm just always doing this though. I went last year with 20 guys. We went and climbed Mount Kilimanjaro. I went on a cruise with 38 people. I did, I think, 4 of those boat trips, probably went with over 120 people total to do that. Once every 2-3 weeks, we go do something. We at least get together and have a night where we're all hanging out. And so just looking for opportunities to do this. I'm part of a group that we go undercover into Mexico and other parts of Latin America. We help rescue kids that are being sex trafficked. And that through that group and some of these people I've met some of the most beautiful connections of my life. These are some of the most amazing humans you'll ever meet. And I only met them because I went to Haiti, I went to Dominican Republic, I went to Mexico, I went and did these trips that, again, at the time, if you're just worried about real estate, made no sense. But I sold 3 homes last year over $1.5 million just from guys I met on those trips. And they are the same kind of relationship where they're like, yeah, dude, you're my guy. I've kind of found a house I want. Will you put the contract in for me? And it's done. And so these are the, I'm going tonight to Vegas. I got 15 friends. We're opening a Mexican restaurant called Mas Por Favor in Vegas. I'm flying down with my girlfriend, and we have 15 different friends down there already. From that one group of friends, I've probably sold 50 homes, like from referrals and things. But again, we're going and we're experiencing life together. We're going and doing these things. And so I just look for opportunities to create real bonds and real moments. And this all goes back to Bill's relationship in 2010, Bill Pipes, when he said, what do you want your life to look like? And so I said, well, I want to be doing these things. And that's literally everything we're doing. One of the guys I'm going down to meet in Vegas, he closes next Wednesday on a $3 million home. And, I only met that dude because we took a private jet to a Clippers Jazz playoff game 4 years ago. And that's where I met the guy. So, I mean, my point is like, I strategically use the life I want to have to take advantage of the opportunity to be in front of amazing people. And because of that, we create really strong bonds of friendship and just sell a lot of houses.
And as time went on, you put this group of friends together, and these are, you basically go away with most of the same people on a regular basis, more or less?
No, different people all the time. I mean, the group I was with last night is an entirely different group than the group that I'm going to be with in Vegas tonight. That's an entirely different group than the one I was with 3 weeks ago. I keep about 50 close friends. And then from there, you've got another, I've got 550 people I consider part of my A-list that I'm contacting at least once a quarter. But, I've got that core 50 guys, 50 people that's kind of my best friends.
Haven't seen some of your podcast and your book and stuff, and talking to you yesterday and today, I mean, I can see why. You're just a really great individual, and I appreciate the time you put with us. I want to bring on a guy that I work with that I really love, and we've got a great relationship. And we push each other and help each other. And his name is Sekou Pyle, and we work together. He is the king of conversation as far as dialogues and scripts and stuff. And you were talking about practicing scripts in your shower and stuff.
Hell yeah.
Sekou Pyle, meet Jimmy Rex.
First of all, Jimmy Rex, honor and a pleasure to meet you. What a name.
I got lucky. I used to do stand-up comedy, and people would ask me if that was my stage name. I'm like, no, I just got lucky. It's a very easy name to remember.
Dude, you are the master of all of them, man. That's awesome, man. Thunder Lizard. Listen, I've been listening in the background. Dude, $30 million deal
Yeah, it was a good one.
From a circle of influence contact that you had. How long were you nurturing that? I mean, obviously he's a friend of yours, but I mean, you'd still put in a little work in order to be that close, right?
Yeah, I mean, he became one of my best friends. Like I said, I think it was 4 or 5 years ago, we went to Hawaii, and we just really hit it off. We actually had a really cool moment. One of those moments that just kind of happens where like you both are kind of vulnerable about something, and you kind of realize, hey, we have a really connected, we're kind of the same type of person here. And from that day on, he became one of my best friends. And so, I mean, yeah, I've been nurturing that relationship pretty heavily for the last 5 years, but I would have anyway. The real estate's kind of a bonus that comes with it. I just have a friend to go hang out with. Yeah. So many of the agents that I work with are sort of like McDonald's minded, right? So everything happens because I put the order in. Hey, because I put this post up, I should have a deal by the end of the week. And the sort of discipline and reserve energy that it takes to nurture something for 5 years, even if it's going to be natural, is impressive, brother. It is truly, truly impressive. Well, yeah, and I tell people, I say, look, this isn't a strategy. It's a way of being. That's the best way I can explain it. Like, I just all day long do things to create value. I live a good life because of that. And in return, real estate deals come in, right? But yeah, I mean, it's funny because people will ask me, like, I do a big client event once a month. And I do some big ones. I do a fireworks show in July that gets over 5,000 people just for my little real estate team. People always go, how many deals do you get from that? And I'm like, I don't know. I can't quantify it. It's like asking somebody that's in really good shape, dude, which exercise got you ripped? You know, it wasn't one thing I did. It's a course of time of being consistent. And that word consistent, no matter if you're calling for sell by owners or you're doing my strategy, it's all consistency. Like, I'm so strategic with how I do my Instagram. I'm very strategic about when I throw parties and events, and even when I go out of town and do these trips, because you have to be consistent. It's over time, you know, you look back and you're like, wow, I have some really cool relationships with a lot of people. And that's kind of what you're trying to do.
That's awesome. That's awesome. You use the analogy. It's like asking a bodybuilder which exercise did it, right? And so A, I'm going to use that. So thank you very much. But B, what winds up happening is that the agents that I know, even the most successful agents, you know, they run into adversity, something falls apart, and they push through, or they go around it, or they figure it out, and they get back on top. So using that analogy, I probably couldn't tell you what exercise got me into shape, because all of them did, right? But I can tell you what thing hurt me. I can tell you what injured me. And if you are disciplined, and I wonder if you echo this, if you're disciplined, the thing that hurts or the thing that knocks you off your course can be easily corrected with your systems and consistency, right? You mess up.
Yeah, well, like in the book Atomic Habits, he says we don't rise to whatever our goals are, we fall to our systems and habits. And so you got to have those things in place. So that's kind of like where you stop, right? Like, if I have systems in place, if I have habits in place, I'm not going to fall further than this, because my system and habit's going to pick me back up.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That's awesome. I listened to stories like this, and you said something important, and Finale, I hope you don't mind. I dug right in, man. This guy is amazing, right? So you said you live the lifestyle that you want, right? So you're doing the things that your vision has put in front of you, and as a result, you make a living out of it. That is pretty powerful, man.
Yeah, people are like, dude, are you going to get out of real estate? I had some investment deals do very well, and people are like, dude, are you going to get out of real estate? I'm like, my life wouldn't change. I just wouldn't take phone calls and have my team sell houses. Like, I don't think I'm going anywhere. Like, I don't need to. Like, I have the time and freedom I want now. You know, there's some day-to-day things that eventually I want to get out of doing, but at the same time, like, I love helping my clients. I actually really love being able to have an excuse to get together with 100 or 200 of my friends every single month, or, you know, to go do these. It's really cool. Like, and guess what? I get to write off every dollar every time I meet my friends. So that's
bonus.
Nice.
Bonus. Hey, so look, Finale, I don't know what I need to do, but I want to be on his friends list. Maybe I got to buy a $30 million property.
Yeah, add me on Instagram. We'll start a connection.
Yeah, connect with Instagram, because he's got really powerful Instagram. And by the way, he uses Linktree. You got to connect with Nick Krem for Content Cards, who was on earlier.
Oh yeah.
But that's really, really cool. So you know, Sekou, you also has a really interesting charity called the Child Liberation Foundation. Jimmy, talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so there's a guy by the name of Tim Ballard, and he formed the most amazing charity called Operation Underground Railroad. This is a hero of mine, Tim, and I had the opportunity through, you know, raising money, donating money, doing some special training with them to become part of their undercover team for Operation Underground Railroad. And I got to go on 11 different ops, and we got to rescue over 100 girls on those ops. This is Tim here. This was one of our ops in Mexico with a federale. This is some of the money we used to liberate some kids, and, you know, a little thank you from their organization. But the thing about, so Tim started this charity, and through that, there's long story short, there's a couple other needs we discovered, which one was they needed to help adoption and the rehabilitation. So OUR, Operation RO, they kind of focus on the rehabilitation and the rescues, but they needed somebody to help on the adoption arm. And so we started raising money for that. And then there's some, you know, this thing called the Nazarene Fund, these kids out in Syria and Iraq that are being killed by ISIS, and they needed money for that. And so the Child Liberation Foundation is a charity that goes, you know, kind of side by side with OUR and helps raise money and do this for these different charities. And so I just became a big part of that. Me and my friends, you know, the cool thing about being part of something like that is the people you're around are so amazing. The people like Tim Ballard and Paul Hutchinson and these other guys I work with. And so that's the charity. And I throw a big gala every year. If you go look on my Instagram and YouTube page, just Jimmy Rex is my YouTube page. You can see a highlight video. I throw a gala every December. We raised over $150,000 every year, and for these different charities and stuff like that. And so it's just something I'm very passionate about. I give a portion of every dollar I make goes towards those charities and those rescues and stuff like that.
So I in my former life was a fundraiser and developer, and my main CBO, the community-based organization I work with, was Hale House, where the children were born addicted and born HIV positive went to get well. And the biggest thing was either reunification or adoption. So believe me, I know exactly the kind of energy that you have to put in order to make that happen. Rather than just kind of sing praises to you and things like that, because you deserve every single praise that you get for that, I'm going to go ahead and offer my help and services and anything that I could do to help. We have a pretty big audience every week. And if you wanted to jump on and just get some grassroots donation, even if it was nothing else, but just to put it out there, the subjects of your fundraising and your philanthropic adventures deserve the absolute best. And so I salute you, brother. And I actually know the Underground Railroad Foundation that you're talking about. I've read about it. I know about it. And my brother and sister do documentaries specifically about it. So we'll talk offline, and I'll definitely hook you guys up.
That sounds great, man. That'd be awesome.
So, Sekou, explain the big audience you talked about that we would like to have them come on next week or whatever we could.
Awesome. Every Wednesday we do this free lead generation and lead follow-up event with any salesperson that we know. We affectionately now call it 5K Wednesdays. It started out as 200 contact Wednesdays, and now we're at 5K Wednesdays. In the span of 3 hours, last Wednesday we made 4,987 contacts in 3 hours. And this is just the general public, salespeople, non-salespeople in the industry, not in the industry. And it would be my pleasure to donate some of that time to you. You do it February 3rd through 6th. We're going to be doing this thing called the Appointment Academy, which is the lead gen version of this lead follow-up night. Does that make sense? Yep. So every day we as an organization, you have a team, my team and us, the DeVoe group, we get together and lead generate during those times. So we're going to take agents at various stages in their organization, at various stages in their development, and we're going to take them through the day of a 200 deal production team. And it's awesome. Well, brother, anything that we could do, man. Finale, I can't even promote, on this, man. I'm trying to figure out ways to throw some money at you, dude.
Now we can definitely talk about. I love that, and we can talk about how I can help them, and you can help, the organization. And it's something I'm very passionate about. It's very, very easy to get passionate about when you go and actually see the situations. I've been undercover and I've been in those spots. I've seen what's the evil of it all, but then I've also seen the beauty of it all once we do the rescues and we see these people get their lives back. It's a pretty easy thing to get behind. So yeah, I appreciate that. We'll definitely I'd love to talk to you about that.
Nice. My brother has a foundation called the One Day Foundation down in Sierra Leone, and he gives them 1 day off of work in the mines. He pays for them to not work for 1 day. And they, just that one little action, man, changes the lives of the people. There's this thing that we in the industry, in the coaching industry, agents hear all the time, start with contribution, right? And it's a theory for most people, brother. It sounds like it's an action for you, man. And dude, hats off to you, man. For real.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and it's honestly like Zig Ziglar. I know it's an old saying, but if you help enough people get what they want, you will get what you want. And I honestly can say I do everything expecting nothing. If people like don't use me as a realtor and then try to get me to hook them up for business or with my connections, I'm probably not going to do it. But if people otherwise, like, I love just doing it to do it. Like, I'm not, I know I'm going to get mine if I help enough other people. And so it's consistent. It's over time. It's been proven. If I create value, if I come from an abundance standpoint, right, there's just going to be a lot of value coming back,
Ashe. Wonderful, man. Thank you.
So Sekou, you have another question, right?
You know I do.
Yeah, I know. This is my favorite question of the day.
So at the end of these sessions, right, we always look for ways to add value and ways to give. And so our question to you is always, what can we do to help you grow and develop?
Well, honestly, like I never planned on being a coach. I made 100 times more money from my real estate business than coaching last year. But enough people, like when I would speak about what I'm doing, when I'd come on podcasts, they're like, dude, you've got to help me learn this. You've got to teach me this. And I started doing it, just kind of at first, just kind of for fun, just to help people. But as it got going more and more, I'd get the success stories and I see how it's working. People send me like, dude, I just got my very first lead through Instagram. And I just got a couple new buyers through what you taught. And it gets really addicting. And so I'm still new to the coaching space. Again, it's like but anything you can do to help, if people are interested in doing it a different way, if they truly want to learn to do it the way I've done it, where you don't have to make a million phone calls every single month. You don't have to be glued to your desk. You can actually go do this thing. I do teach exactly what I do. I teach my entire system. And that's what if you want, go to, Mr. Jimmy Rex is my Instagram. My podcast is the Jimmy Rex Show. But just introducing people to what I'm doing. If you have people that want to try it a different way, I'd love to help them. Everything I do is so that I can still live the model of life I want. So I do a lot of masterminds, I do a lot of group things, and I'm doing a lot of events where we do high adventure type things together, and then we learn principles through it. But I do teach my whole system. My mastermind right now is Jimmy Rex Mastermind. If you just go to that, and it's a 12-week course where I literally spend an hour every week just going through exactly what my system is. So anything you do to share that, because then honestly, it's fun and it's, it changes people's lives, and it's something that I'm passionate about as well now.
Well, we will definitely do that. And people, you've just gone through some of it, so just formalize, how people can contact you, Jimmy.
Yeah, I mean, again, a very easy way to contact me is through Instagram, Mr. Jimmy Rex, that's the best way to contact me. But also, my website is mrjimmyrex.com. All my trainings, I have a lot of free giveaways, like an Instagram guide, a Facebook guide. It's all on there. So if you want to go to any of that, you can as well.
Right. Awesome. Well, and Jimmy, Sekou knows this, and you know it, and that's why we got together, is because of this thing. The hat, and because the hat is the thing with
you're in the club.
Talk-TGIF. But Sekou, you don't know this, but he was the first one to know that it's thank God it's finale. So that's really pretty cool, right?
But you knew it from the door? I think you gave him cheat. I think you gave him cheat codes.
I may have. I don't remember if I did or not. But Jimmy, this has been amazing. I hope you've added value to our lives in our show, and this has been a great show. I've gotten so many things out of this, and things. Unfortunately, yes, we will be using Sekou and I in our everyday businesses for everything. You know what? You're one of the special people in the world, and I want to really thank you for joining me today on this broadcast, which I've committed to and keep pushing forward to get the great people in the world on here in the real estate business. Thank you very much, Jimmy.
Thank you. And I need to get one of those hats, so you better send one over. That's the whole reason I wanted to come on.
I know that, and we got it. I think we found your address, so we're gonna get this off to you. So we're gonna rock off here, and I want to thank you for coming on. Just stay on for a second as we sign off. Thanks very much, anybody who's watching this. Thank you for coming on. We had a lot of good people like Frank Rinaldi, Nick Krem, Kim Morelli. We have Sherry Diavia coming on, and lots of other people. So thank you so much. We'll see you next week. And I believe our guest next week is Brian Mira. So we hope to see you next week. Thanks, everybody. Thanks so much. Have a great weekend.
Take care.